Alexa, volume level 10. Alexa, play The Universe in 100 Stars, Audible.
Resuming the story of the universe in 100 stars from Audible.
Alexa, volume level 10. Alexa, play The Story of the Universe in 100 Stars.
Resuming the story of the universe in 100 stars from Audible. This is very inefficient.
There we go.
Even the sun, which at the end of the day has had 4.5 billion years to create new elements, is made up of 70.
Before I get started, I've got a little paraffin oil.
Just over 27% consists of helium, and all the other elements together constituted the remaining 2% or so. Yet the sun is actually one of the stars that contain a relatively large number of those other elements. When it was formed, the universe was already nearly 10 billion years old. The stars born before it had already had plenty of time to produce new elements, and when they died in huge supernovas, it scattered them in space. From the outside then, the cosmic gas cloud from which the sun emerged already contained more than just hydrogen and helium, and in sufficient amounts to enable the formation of planets like Earth. We and our world depend on these new elements, but from a cosmic perspective, they are present only in minute tracings, which is why astronomers continue to group them under the admittedly somewhat misleading heading.
It's cooking with paraffin oil.
The star's metallicity describes the proportion of its mass that is taken up by these metals.
I weigh more than I ever have before.
According to that yardstick, 14 Hercules of metal is markedly greater than the sun's. There's a small star that the Hercules constellation looks rather ordinary at first.
Japanese noodles,
59 light years away from us. It's a little smaller, lighter, and cooler than the sun, and glows orange. But it contains at least
It's Stir Fry Tuesday with me. I've got here
this is a sign that
a saute kit. Safeways have $6 saute kit.
3.6 billion.
They're wonderful, perfect.
On the other hand, it also makes it a useful candidate for the search for new
Not
planets.
very expensive.
If the cosmic gas cloud, which is
Healthy.
contains many elements in addition to
Go ahead and warm up the noodles.
matter contained in the cloud.
There has never been a cat in the microwave oven here.
Into largish lumps. Thus,
I've never lost my soul on
in
YouTube.
addition, those heavy elements act like
And
a
I don't
shield,
have a photographic memory.
protecting the lighter hydrogen and helium atoms from
Got
the powerful radiation that emanates from young.
$5 of steak.
As a result, the gas
I think
atoms
it's what,
are effortlessly destroyed and shifted out into space. But
beef for stir fry.
and can instead take
The good
part in
stuff.
process of planetary formation.
Not the kind of
It
thing you
also
find
makes
on
it
the
easier
floor.
for the large gas planets, such as Jupiter, to see the light of day.
But I eat it.
In 2002, this theory was confirmed.
Let's all start smoking joints off the
We
pavement.
discovered a planet in its neighborhood whose
Oh,
mass is
sidewalk.
nearly 5 times
The curbside
Jupiter's, which,
joint smoking party probably
is the
wouldn't be a very
largest
good
planet in our solar system.
idea. Like a broken
If
joint
14 Hercules wasn't a heavy metal star,
right off the
it would not be
curbside.
possible for a giant planet
Man,
like
would
that
that guy
to
need a
exist
doctor?
in its orbit.
Not even funny. So I bought some oil.
Alpha
I
Capricorn,
do not know how to play the Stradivarius,
the
but
wellspring of shooting
even though I'm
stars.
Scottish as hell,
When you see a shooting
as far
star,
as I know,
you have to make a
I'm
wish.
Scottish, and I doubt if
There
I'll
may
ever
not be
figure out
any
if I'm
actual
Jewish.
proof that it will come true,
Here we go.
but there's certainly no harm in trying.
Bertolli extra virgin olive oil. Challenging moment for me. Try and find it.
Possible.
Am I a virgin?
We can state this with a fair degree of astronomical
Honestly, know that. Don't
to see a myriad of evidence.
if I'm not,
The star Alpha
I'd be lying through my teeth.
gives us a little preview of what we might
Both
expect,
of them?
even if it isn't a proper
Curbside.
star. And strictly
What to
speaking,
do if your head meets the curbside without your helmet on?
bright light in the Capricornus constellation.
The visor fell off of mine.
Two stars that
I can remember briefly, but not so vividly.
They look like a single star to
That
us.
van was awfully close to
And Alpha Capricorn
the handlebars, though.
specifically the Alpha Capricornids meteor stream appears to originate.
Let's get closer to the kitchen.
Stars are stars. They are miniature lumps of
Can you hear that sizzle?
an inch or so, roughly a few millimeters wide. And you can find them as
Sizzling stir fry Tuesday with Nate
of our solar system. When Earth
in the universe.
grains of interplanetary dirt, we see a sheet
100 stars.
of Earth's atmosphere.
Starts with a little sizzling steak.
30 and 70 kilometers per second.
Should I add sauce?
During its high-speed flight through the
I'll
atmosphere,
start with the organic sesame oil.
the shells of the atoms the air consists of.
That's the good stuff.
These now shell
Not
atoms
so much.
may capture one of the liberated electrons.
That's what I have.
Attach it
Soyaki,
energy,
soyaki, so yummy,
which we then perceive.
so yummy, soyaki.
The whole thing takes place about
Soy sauce,
miles
no cream of some young guy in that.
above us. It lasts only
I'll try and find it someday.
by then.
I've never seen anybody.
Considerable frictional
I bet that's the good stuff.
collision with our atmosphere.
Gotta be tasty when you're cooking.
The spectacle is over. On a clear night,
That smells really good.
shooting stars.
Spicy.
As long as you can see
And hot.
veritable showers of them. The reason for this is the source of the dust. It's produced by asteroids and comets, the smaller celestial bodies in the solar system.
I've got noodles.
Especially on
Pepper
planet
fiber for and
when they get close to the sun, the ice that they contain thaws, turns into gas,
as the steak.
dragging with it all
Put
manner
it
of
up a little.
dust on the comet surface.
Add a little more oil.
Throw up dust in this way.
Generous with my Bertolli
Much less of that.
virgin
However,
olive
when they
oil.
collide with other asteroids, for example, or get close enough to the sun that they break apart, they too can produce a large amount of dirt. So, asteroids, and especially comets, drag a trail of dust with them through space. And when Earth traverses one such sullied region,
And I've also found peanut sauce.
you notice a
That comes along later in the program.
which all seem to fall to Earth from one and same place in the sky. These showers recur at the same time every year, because it takes Earth precisely 1 year to visit these dusty regions in its orbit. For
It's a
example,
beautiful day.
on late November nights, we can observe a luminous
People are walking around.
they appear to come from the Leo constellation. But we actually have the comet Temple Tuttle for them for them. So far, we have identified more than 30 such meteor streams, which provide us with showers of shooting
We're
stars.
probably not going to leave
Some
for
of them
cold.
more striking than others at different times of the year.
No one lost their soul during the Olympics.
2002 against 12 is
I've heard that probably did not happen.
First encounters the concert that left behind around July 30th every year. The meteor shower isn't particularly
Often when I cook, I'm all there.
but a close examination of the asteroid has shown that it must have created a
Just a little
huge
further
amount of
away.
dust. Broke
On
apart
other
rather
side.
dramatically about 5,000 years ago. Earth is currently moving through the
Should I go ahead?
but the extent and position of the dust cloud will shift over time. And things will look different from 2220 onward. Astronomers have
I
predicted
expect the
that the
primary
Alpha Capricorns will grow into an extremely powerful meteor stream and produce more
meteors just about al
than
dente.
any other. Whether all our dreams will come true that night remains to be seen.
That's a lot of babies.
36. Anwar al-Fakadain. The end of the
That's that heat up. Sometimes you know what I do because I'm just so.
star with the evocative name belongs to the constellation of Ursa Minor,
Good
the
good.
Little Bear. Its Arabic name means The brighter of the two
I
candles,
give it a faster
but it's
heat.
not actually all that bright. You can
The
only see
lid
it in
is
the
not
very
off.
large sky, something that is sadly becoming rare here on Earth. Most people can identify the Big Dipper in Ursa Major. Its stars are very bright and therefore easy to see.
Alexa, what's the weather forecast today?
The current weather is 62 degrees Fahrenheit with clear skies and sun. Today's forecast is partly sunny weather, with a high of 68 degrees and a low of 48 degrees. Did you know I can help you get your day started with the weather, news, traffic, and more? Would you like me to enable to start my day routine?
No, thank you.
With Ursa Minor, its most distinctive star is the pole star in its tail, whose light is still comparatively bright. The other 6 stars shine more feebly. Anwar al-Farkadain is the darkest of them. A glance at the little bear is thus a good opportunity to assess the quality of the night. The darker it is, the more of its 7 most prominent stars you'll be able to see. Far away from brightly lit conurbations and other light interference, the complete little bear will be easily and clearly visible. But even just a small amount of artificial illumination, scattered light from a distant village perhaps, is enough to brighten the sky to such a degree that Anwar al-Farkadain is outshone and vanishes. As you approach the bright lights of big cities, most of the other stars of the constellation also vanish. Only the pole star and 1 or 2 others in the little bear can still be seen with the naked eye. And the 2 oddly is at the center of a sprawling, blazing city. Nowadays, this view of a washed out, gray and starlit sky is almost normal. More and more people live in or just outside large cities.
Time for Bangkok peanut sauce.
Its homes, streets, and billboards.
Where is Nathan Street in China?
Most of us can no longer find.
I've heard I'm really big in China,
You know what a starry night actually
but I'm really heavy too. So
travel to remote deserts.
I'm going to try and get back down to 365 pounds.
Yet light pollution is increasingly becoming a problem.
No one knows for sure. But I consider it a blessing
Disturbed with the lack of
to wait a minute.
for us humans too.
That is how I know.
Day and night.
Absolutely everything is okay right now.
The radiation of the sky is certainly a waste of money. A sensible lighting concept that illuminates only what needs to be illuminated, and only when truly necessary, could save a substantial amount of energy and money. More than anything else, though,
It's Nate's Jack soy sauce.
is a cultural loss. For thousands of years,
That has to do with some guy
humanity's constant.
built into it.
As soon as the sun set,
Look
it
at
was dark. You could see the Milky Way unfurling like a ribbon across the sky.
In 6 minutes now.
Thousands of glittering stars that shone so brightly that you could make out their colors. The sky has influenced our
But as these are crispy.
religions. It has inspired philosophy, poetry, painting, and science too. With the ubiquitous availability of electricity, and thanks to artificial illumination, when gradually lost our meanings, and with it an important part of what makes us questioning, searching, storytelling, and the living creatures we are. For millennia, a glance upward would impel us to contemplate the universe and our role. That the bright lights of our civilization have ended up outshining the space for thought may be one of human history's most ironic punchlines. 37. Series B. The future of the sun. In 5 or 6 billion years' time, when the sun ends its active life as a star, it'll become what Sirius B is today, a white dwarf. We first observed this special end stage of the star's development in 1862, thanks to Sirius B. It took a long time for us to fully understand what it was. A star is only a star, for as long as they can produce
Different kind of peanut sauce.
the temperature inside it has to be high enough to enable atoms to
And that is why I have 2 different kinds of peanut sauce,
together when they go out.
just in case I run out.
This nuclear reaction releases energy, which it radiates outward.
Organic toasted sesame oil.
Is the only thing
Trader
that
Joe's.
affects the star's gravitational
My favorite.
force, which would otherwise
Lovey
collapse under its own weight. Without nuclear fusion,
I can just
the star would be unsightable. In the center of the sun, hydrogen is fusing into helium. This process has been going on for 4.5 billion years, and the sun still has enough hydrogen left to carry on with it for another 5 to 6 billion years. At some point, though, the helium will become a problem. All it does is lie around in the core, unable to fuse. Helium is heavier than hydrogen, meaning that it requires higher temperatures to fuse. The more helium is produced, the less room there is for hydrogen at the sun's core, which is the only place hot enough for nuclear fusion. Consequently, less radiation reaches the outside. The pressure inside the sun decreases, and gravitation gains the upper hand. The result of this process is complex. The sun collapses slightly under its weight, and the matter inside becomes a little more compacted, which in turn heats up the core. The hotter it grows, the more of the outlying hydrogen can now be drawn into the nuclear fusion process. It even becomes hot enough for the helium inside the core to start fusing. These fresh energy sources produce much greater heat, which leads to a sharp spike in radiation. It's now powerful enough that instead of continuing to implode, the sun starts to expand. As it swells up, the outer layers stretch and thin out. But at the same time, the sun's core continues to collapse. Since it originally contained much less helium than hydrogen, the helium burning phase ends after a few 100 million years, and the core is extinguished. Away from the center, the hydrogen can continue to fuse for a while, but eventually this ends too. The sun's outer layers will by then have long disappeared into space, and dissipate among the stars. The core, meanwhile, gradually collapses from the inside out until all that's left is an object about the size of Earth, in which nuclear fusion no longer occurs. This is the white dwarf into which the sun will one day turn. The white dwarf is still immensely hot, and its material is extremely tightly packed. A single teaspoon of its matter weighs as much as several cars. The white dwarf may be tiny in comparison to other stars, but it nevertheless retains a large amount of mass, and thus continues to exert gravitational force on its surroundings. This is how we were able to track down Sirius B. Sirius is our name for the brightest star in the sky. But in 1844, we noticed it acting somewhat oddly. It was wobbling, as if it was being orbited by another star, which was influencing Sirius with its gravitational force. Yet there was no star anywhere in the area that could have been responsible for this. Only in 1862 did Alvin Graham Clark, grandson of the telescope maker Alvin Clark, discover, as he was testing a newly built instrument, that as a matter of fact there was a second star. They called it Sirius B. Its brighter, easily discernible companion officially bears the name Sirius A. And many more discoveries followed on the heels of this one. We've already found more than 100 white dwarfs within a radius of 65 light years, and many more even farther away. So when the sun's life ends in the distant future, at least it's something lonely. 38. Iota Corae. The cosmic eye needs glasses. 4 bright dots on a slightly fuzzy dark gray background. This unspectacular image, unveiled to a somewhat unimpressed public on May 20th, 1990, kicked off a new era in astronomy. It was the first light, the very first image from the Hubble Space Telescope, which already had a long history. The American astronomer Lyman Spitzer first came up with the idea of a telescope in space back in 1946. It was common sense, really. The turbulence in Earth's atmosphere inevitably interferes with astronomical observation, and a telescope placed in space and beyond our atmosphere would give us an unimpeded view of the stars and show us what we otherwise wouldn't be able to see.
Alexa, stop. Alexa, play Michael Crichton, Sphere, Audible.
Resuming Spear from Audible. There's about 2 hours, 42 minutes left in this chapter, and about 9 hours, 53 minutes left in this book.
But Spaulding is nervous about pulling surface support when there are civilians below. I want to know your feelings. Do you want to stay down and continue exploring the ship, or leave? Stay, definitely, Ted said. Barnes said, Beth. I came here to investigate unknown life, Beth said. But there isn't any life on that ship. It just isn't what I thought it would be. Hoped it would be. I say we go. Barnes said, Norman? Let's admit the truth, Norman said. We're not really trained for a saturated environment, and we're not really comfortable down here. At least I'm not. And we're not the best people to evaluate this spacecraft. At this point, the Navy'd be much better off with a team of NASA engineers. I say go. Harry? Let's get the hell out, Harry said. Any particular reason? Barnes said. Call it intuition. Ted said, I can't believe you would say that, Harry. Just when we have this fabulous new idea about the ship. That's beside the point now, Barnes said crisply. I'll make the arrangements with the service to pull us out in another 12 hours. Ted said, God damn it. But Norman was looking at Barnes. Barnes wasn't upset. He wants to leave, he thought. He's looking for an excuse to leave. And we're providing his excuse. Toward their bunks, Barnes said, Beth. Why are you pushing every... How? And then Barnes said something else, and the voices faded. Damn it, Ted said. He kicked one of the iron walls. It rang hollowly. They passed into Sea Center on their way to the box. I can't believe you people want to leave, Ted said. This is such an exciting discovery. How can you walk away from it?